Welcome back to Workers.com, Staffing Pulse, Insights from the Frontline, the podcast where workforce intelligence meets real-world hiring strategy. I'm your co-host, Jennifer, Personnel Manager.
And I'm Rod, Recruiting Manager and fellow co-host. Today, we're diving into one of the most important conversations happening across American industry right now. Because despite all the headlines about automation, AI, and economic uncertainty, manufacturers across the country are still struggling to find skilled workers.
And one thing we continue seeing from the staffing side is this. A lot of market commentary says manufacturing is slowing down. But actual hiring activity tells a much more nuanced story. Manufacturers are still hiring aggressively for skilled positions such as electricians, maintenance technicians, CNC machinists, industrial mechanics, welders, and automation technicians. The demand is real.
And in many cases, the hiring pressure is actually intensifying. Especially when you look at reshoring projects, semiconductor investment, infrastructure expansion, aerospace manufacturing growth, energy sector buildouts, and now the explosion of data center construction nationwide. Those projects are creating massive competition for industrial labor.
And that's one of the advantages of being positioned where we are at Workers.com. We're not looking at workforce trends 6 months after the fact. We're seeing hiring realities in real time through staffing activity, recruiting demand, workforce shortages, and employer behavior happening across the country every day.
Today, we're going to explore what the national manufacturing hiring landscape really looks like, why skilled labor shortages remain one of the biggest constraints on industrial growth, how AI and automation are changing workforce needs, where reshoring and domestic manufacturing expansion are driving hiring demand, and what both employers and job seekers should be paying attention to right now.
And whether you're a manufacturing executive, plant manager, recruiter, operations leader, skilled trades professional, or someone exploring manufacturing careers, this episode is packed with practical workforce insight. So let's get started. One thing that's important to establish early in this conversation is that workforce intelligence looks very different when you're directly involved in staffing operations every day. At Workers.com, we sit at the intersection of staffing, skilled trades recruiting, workforce development, manufacturing hiring, industrial labor analytics, and operational workforce strategy. That gives us direct visibility into hiring conditions before many formal labor reports even catch up.
That's such an important point, because traditional labor reports often lag behind actual hiring activity. Meanwhile, employers are making decisions right now. Plants are trying to expand right now. Projects are launching right now, production schedules are changing right now, and staffing pressure shows up immediately.
And one of the biggest misconceptions we continue hearing is, if automation is increasing, won't manufacturing need fewer workers? What we're actually seeing is something much different. Automation is increasing demand for higher skilled labor.
Modern manufacturing facilities still require people. But the technical skill requirements are evolving. Now, employers need maintenance technicians who understand automated systems, electricians who can work with smart controls, CNC machinists capable of programming advanced equipment, industrial mechanics familiar with robotics, automation technicians, PLC, programmable logic controller, specialists, mechatronics talent. So automation isn't removing workforce demand, it's transforming workforce demand.
And that transformation is creating tremendous pressure on the labor market because workforce pipelines haven't fully caught up. which brings us directly into the current manufacturing hiring landscape.
When we look at manufacturing hiring nationwide right now, one of the clearest themes is selective but persistent demand. Some employers may be cautious about overexpansion because of economic uncertainty, but critical hiring continues. And in many skilled positions, hiring competition remains extremely aggressive.
Especially in sectors tied to infrastructure investment, semiconductor production, aerospace, energy, logistics, defense manufacturing, data center development, and industrial modernization. Those sectors are driving enormous hiring pressure.
And we're seeing employers compete for the exact same worker pools. For example, a qualified industrial electrician might receive opportunities from manufacturing plants, energy projects, infrastructure contractors, data center construction firms, semiconductor facilities, and distribution operations. That creates wage pressure almost immediately.
Exactly. And wage pressure is something employers need to approach strategically now, because workers today have more visibility into compensation than ever before. If compensation packages aren't competitive, or if hiring processes move too slowly, employers lose candidates fast.
And that speed issue matters. One trend we continue seeing is employers underestimating how competitive skilled labor markets have become. Some companies still operate hiring processes designed for labor conditions from 10 years ago, but today's workforce market moves much faster.
That's so very true. A skilled CNC machinist or industrial maintenance technician may have multiple offers simultaneously. If the hiring process drags out for 2 or 3 weeks, employers often lose strong candidates. And this becomes especially problematic because replacement pipelines are thinner than they used to be.
The labor pipeline challenge is huge right now. Trade school enrollment has improved in some areas, but retirement rates across manufacturing remain significant. A large portion of the industrial workforce is approaching retirement age, and many employers are now realizing they didn't build sufficient succession pipelines.
That's one of the biggest workforce risks we're seeing nationwide. The manufacturing workforce gap isn't simply about not enough applicants. It's about not enough experienced, reliable, technically capable workers available at scale.
Let's talk about where the shortages are most severe, because this is where employers are really feeling operational pressure. The positions we consistently see hardest to fill include industrial maintenance technicians, electricians, CNC machinists, welders, automation technicians, PLC specialists, industrial mechanics, and skilled production technicians. These are critical operational roles.
And when those positions remain open, the operational consequences are enormous. Production delays, increased overtime, higher burnout, maintenance backlogs, safety risks, equipment downtime. The labor shortage issue directly affects productivity.
Exactly. And reliability has become one of the most valuable workforce traits employers look for now. Not just technical skill, but consistency. Can workers show up reliably? Can they adapt? Can they operate safely? Can they function inside modern production environments? Those questions matter tremendously.
One thing employers sometimes underestimate is how expensive instability actually becomes. Turnover costs are massive in manufacturing. And when plants lose experienced workers repeatedly, operational knowledge disappears with them. That's why retention strategy is becoming just as important as recruiting strategy.
Absolutely. The most successful manufacturers today are focusing heavily on workforce stability. That includes better onboarding, career path visibility, more competitive wages, skills development, improved communication, flexible scheduling where possible, stronger safety cultures, faster hiring decisions.
And another major issue is geographic mismatch. In some regions, employers are expanding faster than local labor markets can support. That creates regional workforce bottlenecks.
We're seeing that especially around semiconductor growth corridors, infrastructure projects, energy development zones, and large logistics hubs. Those projects attract labor demand rapidly. But local workforce pipelines often take years to catch up, so employers end up competing intensely for the same skilled workers.
And that's where staffing flexibility becomes critical. More manufacturers are utilizing contract staffing, temp-to-hire models, workforce scaling strategies, flexible labor pools, and strategic recruiting partnerships. Not because they want temporary instability, but because workforce agility has become operationally necessary.
Now let's shift into automation and AI because this topic generates a lot of confusion. There's a narrative out there suggesting AI will dramatically reduce manufacturing employment. But what we're seeing is much more complex.
Manufacturers are investing heavily in automation, but automation still requires skilled people. In fact, advanced manufacturing environments often require even more specialized labor.
Exactly. Modern facilities now rely on robotic systems, automated material handling, smart sensors, predictive maintenance systems, data-driven production tools, AI-supported quality control, and PLC-controlled equipment. That means employers increasingly need workers who can interact with technology effectively.
And that's why upskilling is becoming one of the biggest workforce priorities nationwide. Manufacturers can't simply hire for yesterday's skill sets anymore. They need adaptable workers capable of evolving alongside industrial technology.
And interestingly, many younger workers entering manufacturing actually find these environments attractive. Modern manufacturing today looks very different than older stereotypes. Advanced facilities are highly technical, highly automated, and increasingly sophisticated.
Which creates opportunity for job seekers, especially those willing to pursue certifications, technical training, automation skills, electrical systems knowledge, CNC programming, or industrial maintenance expertise. These are career paths with long-term demand.
And because manufacturing modernization is accelerating, workforce demand isn't disappearing. The technical requirements are simply rising. That's a major distinction employers and workers both need to understand.
Now let's talk about reshoring, because this trend continues reshaping manufacturing hiring nationwide. More companies are investing in domestic production capacity, and that's creating localized hiring surges in many regions.
Semiconductor manufacturing is one of the biggest examples. Those facilities require enormous skilled labor support during both construction and long-term operations. And the competition for technical labor becomes intense very quickly.
We're also seeing major growth tied to aerospace manufacturing, defense production, energy infrastructure, battery manufacturing, logistics modernization, data center expansion, industrial construction, and supply chain diversification. All of those sectors pull from overlapping skilled labor pools.
And data center growth alone is creating huge demand for electricians, technicians, and infrastructure labor nationwide. Some regions are seeing labor demand spike dramatically because of hyperscale development projects.
Which means manufacturing employers aren't just competing against other manufacturers anymore. They're competing against construction firms, infrastructure contractors, energy projects, data center developers, logistics operations, and aerospace facilities. That widens the labor competition dramatically.
And reshoring also increases long-term hiring pressure because these facilities aren't short-term projects. Many represent decade-long investments. That means workforce planning becomes strategic infrastructure planning.
That's a critical point. The future of manufacturing growth depends heavily on workforce development. Technology alone won't solve labor shortages. Employers need workforce pipelines.
So let's shift into practical recommendations for employers listening today. The first recommendation is simple: move faster.
Absolutely. Hiring speed matters tremendously in competitive labor markets. Long interview delays cost employers candidates every day.
Second is to invest in retention as aggressively as recruiting. Reducing turnover often produces far greater return on investment than constantly replacing workers.
Third is to modernize workforce planning. Employers should continuously evaluate retirement exposure, skills gaps, workforce scalability, succession planning, technical training needs, labor flexibility strategies.
Fourth is to improve candidate experience. Communication matters, transparency matters, professionalism matters. Candidates evaluate employers just as aggressively as employers evaluate candidates.
And fifth is to develop workforce partnerships. Whether through staffing firms, trade schools, workforce development programs, or apprenticeship initiatives, employers need stronger recruiting ecosystems. Trying to solve labor shortages alone is increasingly difficult.
Now, for job seekers listening, there's real opportunity in manufacturing right now, especially for workers willing to build technical skill sets.
High-demand areas include industrial maintenance, electrical systems, welding, CNC machining, automation systems, PLC controls, robotic support, and skilled production operations. These are career paths with strong long-term outlooks.
And reliability still matters enormously. Attendance, consistency, communication, safety awareness, adaptability. Those traits continue separating strong candidates from average ones.
We also encourage workers to pursue certifications whenever possible. Technical credentials can dramatically improve hiring opportunities and wage potential.
And manufacturing today offers far more career mobility than many people realize. Advanced manufacturing careers increasingly combine technology, operations, engineering support, automation, and leadership opportunities. For job seekers exploring opportunities, visit workers.com to search manufacturing, skilled trades, logistics, warehouse, and industrial positions nationwide.
As we wrap up today's episode, one thing is very clear. Manufacturing hiring remains highly active despite economic uncertainty, and skilled labor shortages continue to be one of the biggest constraints on industrial growth nationwide. Automation is transforming workforce needs, not eliminating them.
And workforce strategy has officially become a competitive advantage. The manufacturers that succeed over the next decade will be the ones that invest in workforce stability, workforce planning, and workforce development.
At Workers.com, we continue seeing these workforce realities every day through direct staffing activity across manufacturing, logistics, skilled trades, industrial operations, and workforce recruiting nationwide. That visibility matters. Because workforce intelligence built from real hiring activity often reveals trends long before broader market reports do.
For more workforce intelligence, industry updates, and podcast episodes, visit the workers.com community page at our website.
So that's all for today. Thank you for joining us on Workers.com Staffing Pulse, Insights from the Frontline. We'll be back soon with more conversations on the trends, strategies, challenges, and opportunities shaping the staffing and employment landscape. If this episode was helpful, be sure to follow and subscribe to the podcast, leave a review, drop a rating, like the video, and share it with your network.
We'll see you next time.